Good morning. Welcome to practice. We're going to begin laying down. If you like to have a chair handy for balancing when we come to standing, you might just make sure there's one available. Finding your spine along the floor and legs bent, feet hip width and parallel. I am always amazed at how wonderful a tool the floor is for checking in on the alignment of the spine. Let yourself just feel heavy with the tension of getting onto the floor. You don't need to hold on to that. Just letting your body be supported. Feeling the flow of your breath so you can feel the belly rise and fall with the breath. Inhaling and expanding and exhaling and contracting. And then add a little movement in as you exhale of pressing your lower back towards the floor. And as you inhale, of lifting your lower back away from the floor. And we're going to continue breathing in that way. Feeling that core movement of the body. Just moving the lower back. And see if you can keep the rest of the body feeling quite relaxed. Aware of the flow of breath. Work. Press your lower back and hold it now into the floor. A funny little hold it. Press into the floor. And we're going to lift the feet off the floor and the arms up from the shoulders. And you're going to swing your legs from side to side. Now, as you do that, your pelvis kind of walks away from the shoulder blade. And we want to keep the skin either side of the lower back touching the floor. Nice, and come back to center. All right, and then we're going to take the left leg straighter than it is and the right arm towards the floor. You don't have to go all the way to the floor because you're going to feel the core of the body switch on. So just move to where you can really feel that. Come back to your center and then right leg towards straight, left arm towards the floor overhead and back to center. And we're going to keep going from side to side. We're trying to keep the lower back onto the floor. So the arch is going to want to arch up away from the floor. Press the lower back, press the skin. Make sure you're breathing. This is a nice posture for working across the body. Beautiful. So across the core And then relax your feet. Back onto the floor, relax your torso. And finding the breath. And then we're going to roll over to the right side and come into forward Virasana. So hips as close to your heels as your body allows. So sometimes if your knees feel vulnerable, you might have your hips higher. Stretching your arms forward so the armpits can lengthen and broaden. The back of the neck is long, throat is relaxed. Feeling the flow of your breath. And then come up into all fours. Sway the hips a little from side to side and let the spine follow. Imagine that side to side movement now is being led by the rib cage, so the sticky outside ribs. And let the spine follow. So you're starting to make a wave-like movement. Good. And then come back to center, and then we'll come up into downward facing dog pose. Hands are about shoulder width, feet are about hip width, and bend your knees, lift your heels, but open the armpits and the chest towards the front of the legs. Good, and then swaying the hips from side to side again. Make that subtle shift where you're trying to lead the wave from side to side now with your ribs. Let's notice that different movement. The shoulders are more active here now. Downward facing dog pose. Press the heels now and nod your head. Shake a little bit. Relax your neck. Enjoying the flow of each breath. Feel what your hands are doing and make sure your fingers are wide. Press your fingerprints. Press the base of the index fingers. Good. And we're going to step forward to the front of the mat. And when you're stepping, try to take little steps and get your feet to move. Move your feet as much as you can. Explore as much movement that you have. Beautiful. Then when you get stuck, rolling up. And take your arms up. Urdhva Hastasana. And Tadasana. Mountain pose. We're going to step forward and back on the mat. And if you know that having a chair at the front of the mat is really useful for you, then just grab that. Mountain pose. Enjoying feeling your feet under your hips. Just check that they're parallel. Urdhva Hastasana, looking up. Now, as we come into Uttanasana, think about the bones of your spine and try to press them forward into the front of the body. So when you come into your forward bend, the spine isn't poking up towards the ceiling, anywhere along the spine, even the middle back between the shoulder blades. You might have your hands up on your leg. Good, and breathing and Just getting in touch with the feeling of stretching the back of the leg. Appreciating the sensation there, whether it's intense or maybe stretch in that way feels like a real pleasure to you, whatever the sensation. Noticing your breath. We're not trying to overdo anything here, but really appreciating yourself, the sensation of the posture. And then bending both your legs and rolling up, and Urdhva Hastasana and Tadasana. So we're going to do that again and be really aware of the bones of your spine, even right up here between the shoulder blades. Urdhva Hastasana and healthy spine, Uttanasana. Checking in with your stretch in your legs again, the resistance, maybe the pleasure of stretching, feeling the flow of your breath and the satisfaction of that breath. Good. Now we're going to bend the legs enough to put the hands on the floor or on the seat of your chair if you're using a chair. We'll step the left leg back, feet about hip width from side to side, and big enough distance so you can press your back heel, your left heel down, and feel a stretch in that leg. And we're trying to have parallel feet here. And we're going to straighten and bend the front leg. Notice if the effort of reaching forward means that the bones of the spine are more evident now. Feel around behind you. That's okay. Bend your leg and try to embed them forward again. Good. And then come back to trying to straighten. So if we pay more attention to the spine, we won't be able to straighten the leg as much, but that's fine. It's still going to be a very strong sensation. Breathing and holding the stretch for as long as feels nourishing for you and releasing when it feels like you need to. Tuning in. Good. And then we're going to step forward. And as you do that, lift up at the same time. Bring the hands in front of your heart and bring the left foot in front so that you're balanced on your right foot. And we're going to take a challenge to hold that left leg. Now, it might be that putting your tiptoes on the floor, or if you've got a chair there, on the seat of the chair is enough. But if you can hold your knee, so your arms are bound, or even hold your foot, but we want to find the spine, the alignment of the body. Enjoying the satisfying breath. Good. And then release that go. Tadasana. Upper arms roll out, arms in. Urdhva Hastasana. Uttanasana. Healthy spine. Good. So to put your hands on the floor without making a rainbow shape of your spine, we're going to bend the knees enough. Not that I don't love rainbows. Take the right foot back. Good. And then find your good distance. So feet hip width side to side. And try to have your back heel on the floor. I step back a bit far, so I'm going to bring that foot forward and get the right heel down onto the floor. Okay, so now that's forced a beautiful rainbow, or I'm going to say a stegosaurus back into the spine. So bend the front leg enough to ease those bones forward. Feel what that's like for the spine. Good. And then it's from that position that we try to straighten and bend the front leg. And use the straightening and bending to make it doable, to really tune into your breath, to notice where the big resistance is in your body, to take your time to explore that, to keep breathing. Nice. Now we're going to step forward and lift up at the same time and balance on the left leg. Woo-hoo-hoo. Bring the hands in front of the heart. So your right tiptoes might stay on the floor. That might be your hold. Maybe your foot is on the seat of your chair, or you can use your hands and bind your knee or your foot. Whichever one, find the balance of your spine. Feeling of the flow of breath. And then releasing. Feet under the hips. Urdhva Hastasana, upward facing arm. Uttanasana, healthy spine. We're going to take a bigger step back now with the left foot. So your back heel won't press down to the floor, but keep the back leg straight. Bend your front leg and be in a deep lunge. So if you really have trouble reaching the floor with your hand, and it's forcing this kind of shape into your back where it's a stegosaurus shape, using the seat of a chair is a really nice option. All right, so the back leg is straight. Investigating, bringing the hips closer to the floor, lifting the breastbone. Nice work. Step back into downward facing dog pose. Bring the shoulders forward into plank position. I'm going to get you to put your knees on the floor, but lift the front core of the body. Stretch the fingers out wide, press the fingerprints down the base of the index fingers. So as we lift the front of the thighs, lengthen the tailbone towards the heels, lift the breastbone. Good, and then back into downward facing dog pose. Now we're going to step the left foot forward. Think about how that feels in your body. Can you imagine stepping the left foot all the way forward to between the hands? And if not, bring the knees to the floor, hands off the floor, step the left foot forward, and then put your hands back down. And then you can lift your back knee off the floor and you're in that same position. Just a few little extra movements to get there. Good. Straightening through the back leg. Dropping the hips, lifting the breastbone. Now we're going to do the same thing. Step forward, lift up and balance on the left leg. But it's a bigger step. So notice the awkwardness, the challenge. And find how you're going to hold that balanced position. Whether it's hands at the heart, toes on the floor or the chair, holding your knee or even holding your foot. And releasing. Tadasana. Urdhva Hastasana. Healthy spine. Uttanasana. And we're going to step the right foot back into that big lunge. Straightening through the back leg, lifting the knee, drawing the spine forward into the front of the torso, lifting the breastbone. And then we're going to step back into downward facing dog pose. Find the length of your spine. If you lift the hips higher, there's more room for the spine to flow like a waterfall. And if the spine is the waterfall, the brain is the calm pool. Enjoying the flow. Okay, so we're going to step the right foot forward. And if you just can't feel that's going to happen in your body, bring your knees to the floor, hands off the floor, right foot forward. And then you're in that long, long lunge. Straightening your back leg, bringing the bones of the spine forward. And we're going to step forward, lift up, and balance on the right foot. Oh, we didn't do a plank position. I forgot. Bring the hands in front of the heart. Find your balance. Hold. Find the alignment of your spine, the flow of your breath. Good. And then releasing that side, Tadasana. Take the arms up. Urdhva Hastasana. Uttanasana. All right. Let's take little steps to go back into plank position. As you take your little steps, use it as an opportunity to really move the feet. So come right up onto the balls of the feet, feel the toes stretching. Once you're in downward facing dog pose, bring the shoulders forward. Lift the pubic bone towards the belly button towards the spine. We'll take the knees to the floor. So we're really lifting the front core of the body. Good. Make sure your weight is in your fingerprints, base of the index fingers. Nice work. And then downward facing dog pose. And pad the feet forward. I say pad, a technical term for walking like a leopard along a tree branch. Good. And then rolling up. Urdhva Hastasana and Tadasana. Beautiful. Turn to the long edge of your mat. Step your feet out wider than your leg is long. Good. And turn your toes out and drop your hips. As you drop your hips, we want to feel internal muscular support. So lifting pelvic floor, front and back of the core body, lifting. And then we're going to sway a little bit from side to side to take this under advisement from your knee. You only go as far as your knees are comfortable with. You'll be able to feel the muscles that support the knee joints, the quadriceps, really working. Now, if it feels like you could go deeper, you can assist yourself by putting your hands on the floor, and then you try to take your sit bones towards the heel. So again, only do that if this really works for your knees. Otherwise, stick with the first part, but keep lifting pelvic floor, internal muscular support, front and back of the body. Nice work. Bring your toes to face in and your hands on the floor under your shoulders and lift your sit bones and try to make a little back bend. So we're lifting the breastbone. The spine is pressing into the front of the torso, and the front of the torso lengthens, is spacious, and feel it filling with the breath. Lift your quadriceps, the front of the thigh. Sit bones again. Beautiful. Now you can wiggle your feet to hip width, or you can jump them. And we're going to try and put the heels down onto the floor. So that means you might have to straighten your legs a little bit. So we'll keep the legs a little bit bent, but get the heels right down onto the floor. You can lower your hips again, so long as you can keep your heels on the floor. So if your heels lift up, lift your bottom a little bit. The heels have to stay connected. Good. And then we're going to press into the heels and just roll ourselves up. Nice work with the legs. We're going to do one more. Excuse me. And this time, squeeze your buttock towards each other. So bend your knees. Your heels are about hip width distance. Your toes are turned out. Good. So try to squeeze the gluteus muscle. We'll try to keep the torso upright. Let's bring the hands in front of the heart. So only go so far as you can keep your heels on the floor. That's a different movement for different people. It might just be a little mini one, but you'll feel how strong your legs are working. Try to use your gluteus muscles as well. Good. Press into your heels and lift up. Alrighty. We're going to sit down on the floor now. So use your common sense and get onto the floor however that works for you. If you've been practicing your sitting without using your hands, you come into your squat position without your heels off the floor, but then lift right up onto the balls of the feet and just move your feet around. Try to get your feet feeling nice and flexible and see how you go sitting that last little bit. Feel a little bit of a falling down, a leap of faith, so long as you're not hurting yourself, of course. Sitting. We're going to take the arms behind, and you can hold your forearms or your elbows or your upper arms or even prayer position. Drawing the elbows down. So when we bind the arms like this, it brings the bones of the spine forward. The feeling how the front of the body is with the breath. Base of the breath. Movement of your breath. And we're going to wave a little bit. Lead with your breath spine. Spine forward and spine back. So the spine isn't rigid here. There is supple and subtle movement the whole length. But even in the forward bend, because we've got the arms down, you might notice that we don't squash the front of the body. There's a feeling of spaciousness. So we can tune into the flow. Nice work. Come up and release your arms. Let's take them out to the side, palms up, and make little circles with the whole length of your arms. Thumbs back. So the palms go up and back. Relax your neck. We want to feel this really easeful alignment for the spine, the head, and the neck, even though the arms are working here. Tune into the muscle of the tissue between the shoulder blades and the back rib. Between the shoulder blades. And then we'll take the arms back behind us again. And you can put the other forearm on the top to hold your wrist, forearms, elbows, upper arms, or even prayer position. And let's change the cross of the legs as well. Good. And then lead with your breastbone. And we're going to wave the spine forward and back. So the arm bind is really asking us to make subtle movements. Try to feel every joint of your spine. Feeling the flow of breath, an energetic flow through the body. Nice. Now, come up to upright, where the spine bones are forward, and release your arm. And we're going to try a forward bend from here without losing that healthy spine feeling. So your forward bend might not go very far forward from where you're sitting. You can put your hands behind your hips to help reach the breastbone forward a little more. Some people, your forward bend will go further, and it might make sense to put your hands out in front. Support. And finding your breath. So that subtle flow of the breath and the flow of energy along the spine. That energetic tuning into your spine, to the sacrum tipping forward, the lower vertebra pressing forward, the middle vertebra between your shoulder blades, the neck lengthening. Nice, and then inhale and come up, and we're going to lay down. And we're back here, exploring the alignment of the spine supported by the floor. Bring the arms beside you, arms down, and check that your feet are hip width and parallel. We're going to wave the spine up and down so that we can feel each bone lift off the floor and then press back down to the floor. So you'll lift higher the more you press your feet, but also the closer your feet are to the sit bone. You adjust accordingly, lifting bone by bone. Notice particularly any part of your back where it just feels like a big slab of back comes off the floor, and try to get a little bit of movement between each bone. So we're trying to tune in to our subtle movement, and it helps us create our supple movement. Well, not create, but tune into, to find. Because our supple movement is already there, waiting to be discovered. And we're letting the neck be long and relaxed. Try to keep your legs parallel as you lift and lower. Even squeeze the gluteus muscles towards each other. Beautiful. Now, we're going to just take the feet off the floor into a little bit of a shoulder stand preparation. And if you put your hands under your sacrum, even just being able to lift the feet off the floor is a good start in that direction, pressing your lower back. Good. Or you might be able to kick them up into the air. So we're not going all the way overhead into plow pose, but just supporting underneath your pelvis with your hands. So a little mini shoulder stand preparation. It's feeling the weight of the body more on the upper spine and the shoulder blades. If the hands are holding the pelvis or maybe your bottom, the closer the hands move towards the waist or even the shoulder blades, then the higher the hips lift. So really important that you're just keeping your neck relaxed and long here. Just a little mini exploration. We're going to lower the spine and see if you can lower down bone by bone without thumping the pelvis down to the floor. Tricky, pretty tricky. Bring the arms out at shoulder height. Inside edges of the feet together and the knees bent. Cross your left thigh over your right. Swing your hips a little bit to the left, and then knees are going to go to the right. Face over the left. We're going to just let the legs be heavy here. If for some reason this pulls too much in your back, taking your legs towards the floor, you can put your blanket under your knee and be very comfortable. Noticing where the body resists, there might be some tension. Seeing if you can just give in, let go of any unnecessary tension. And then before you lift your legs, really bring your focus to the whole core of your body. So feel like we've got muscular support the whole way around the core. When you lift your legs, there isn't that over asking of the little muscles of the between the vertebrae. So back into alignment. And then right leg over left. And we're going to lift the hips. They swing right and the knees go left. Looking over your right. Noticing where you hold tension. Giving yourself permission to really be in this pose. Before you lift your leg, really bring your focus to the whole core of the body so that you lift the legs with lots of support. Feeling how healthy that is for the spine. Beautiful. Back to center. We're going to roll to the right side and come up to sitting. Did I say center? I meant to say healthy, that is, for the spine. Feeling your long, strong spine. Flow of breath. And take the feeling of the breath. Namaste.